master that. And that will guide you, that connection will connect you to an endless amount of understanding and abilities of what to do next. It will guide you. You will guide you.
Sits back and says, you betray me with a kiss. I would rather you smack me than kiss me. Many of us have been through that. How about on the plantation? What would that have done on the plantation? That religion assisted us in surviving, having lost our history, our language, our values, our interests, our principles. That religion that we practiced helped us through. However, a spiritual system that no longer meets your needs and solves your problem is like carrying the boat on your back after you cross the river. Because what got you across the river, if you put it on the back and walk with it, it becomes a burden. I don't have a problem with any religion. The book that I'm writing is analyzing African texts from the walls of Kamene. And every one of those utterances and writings, every religion, from agnostic to Zoroastrian, will find their scripture on the walls written by Africans.
Ashe. I
don't have a problem with the religion. I have a problem with your interpretation of the spirituality of the religion. So that when you have a God that don't look like me, once you can get me to worship a God that don't look like me, you don't need to control me. You got my mind. So I don't have a problem with religion. I have a problem with the interpretation. So, now you asked, and you said you had a long story. That was short compared to what I just did.
The reason why I was saying that was to speak to the exact point that you was just describing, which is that when the old system, we still have people under the old guard, and we have those who are broken away from religion to find our own way.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you're looking at life in the United States and dealing with capitalism, I'm going to say it this way, the white people are still teaching black people to hate each other. So when it comes to economic trust, it's like, why am I going to spend my money with this black man when I've already been taught that his quality of his product is going to be low, the customer service is going to be suspect. And don't get me wrong, we do have a lot of undercapitalized businesses. So to some degree, that is true. But we still have, as a community, have to figure out a way to go beyond that, to rebuild the spiritual trust. Because like I said, I don't think we can have economic trust until we fix the spiritual trust issue.
And I think that the other side to your story, brother, is the fact that it was the free labor by African people that built the Western economic system.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. See, one of the things about the Civil War is that the Civil War was not fought to free African people.
I agree.
Okay, it wasn't. What happened was Africans on the plantation invented new things. They were in the field, so they invented cotton gin, and they invented all sorts of different machines that could make their job a little bit easier because it was hurting on the back, right? And those thorns with the cotton, was hurting the fingers, and
Correct.
The tobacco, created situations. So African people, in their ingenuity, having brought their knowledge and wisdom from where they came from to America, began to build machines that there are two things you deal with economics, supply and demand.
Correct.
So when you're dealing in a system that a machine is invented that can do what 3 Africans would have had to have worked for 3 days, when that machine can do 3 Africans work 3 days in 1 day, you now have a surplus of supply and a lack of demand. So therefore, somehow or other, you always have to have a very healthy, a little bit more supply to match the demand.
Correct.
So that you're always able to give somebody what they need when they ask for it. always thinking that they may ask for more, so you need to have a little bit more supply than the demand. So what these machines began to do was to create this surplus of things, whatever it may have been. And so what the system of enslavement and what Europeans did was they realized, look, this isn't working. Because the industry of the North and the industry of Europe that was taking their raw materials from the worlds of color in the Americas, Caribbean, Central South America, and India, Australia, pretty soon they said, but this is too much. We can't do this. So what did they do? Okay, if you could buy somebody for $300 and they work for 20 years, but suppose you hired somebody and paid them $300 a year for 20 years. If your thing is maximum profit, what you gonna do? You're gonna buy that one person because you only have to spend $300 one time as opposed to paying somebody $300 a year for 20 years. So the South and the Caribbean was where the raw materials came from. And the North was where the industry was, where they would manufacture what they got from the South in the raw material. So the people in the North said, look, to the South, look, enslavement is suffocating this new order that's coming about. Just spoiler alert, capitalism. Because in capitalism, you have to have competition in order for it. That's the fuel that drives, that's the energy that drives
the engine.
This engine. Now, if you've got enslaved people, that's going to put a wrench in the machine. Because now you don't have competition and you don't have this thing going on. So the North said to the South, look, y'all going to have to free them Africans. Look, if I had my way, I would kill them. Send them back to Africa. Or just make them disappear. But let's be real. They're here. So you got to free them. Let's make a little promise. Let's tell them we're going to give them 48 years. Okay, come on. Winking at each other. Come on, we know what's going to happen. But we got to do this. So they did it. South said no. Lord said, but you have to. Because that will destroy what we're doing in the North. And the South said, but that sounds like a personal problem to me, North. Because I can sell my raw materials to anybody. I don't need you. And the North said, but we need you. South said, well, that sounds like a personal problem. We don't need you. And the North said, but look, please. South said, look, shut up. In fact, you know something? I don't even want to talk to you no more. I'm going to secede from you. That's why the secession thing was going on. They said, we don't need you. We can do business anywhere. North said, but you can't secede. South said, why not? They said, because what happened to us? They said, look, this is the fourth time I told you that's a personal problem. We don't need you. North said, well, you can't secede. South said, watch. That started the Civil War. It didn't have nothing to do with feeling good about black folk want to free us. That's why we're in the position we're in today. And the irony of it is in 1870, by 1865, the so-called emancipation of African people, 14% of newly freed Africans were literate. Not only were they perfect speaking English, but they spoke Greek and Latin too.
Teach.
Okay? By 1900, 41% of African people were literate in math, science, had started building institutions. You know what I have a problem with that number? That's higher than today. We were more literate in 1900 than we are in 2018.
Man.
Doesn't it seem like it's a plan? It seems like a plan. And so when we think about who we are as a people, we taught the world economics. We were the best business people on the planet before they even had a toast to sell. We are good business people. We We have work to do. But we are good business people. We believe in good business. But one of the first things about trade and the importance of business is its communication. When I went to Africa, I went to Egypt, and I went to where the Africans lived in southern part, and they came and they had 3 pyramids. Speaking of pyramids, they had 3 pyramids, little ones that they sold, each one a different size. And I said, how much is it? And he said $10. And so I gave him $10, and he looked at me kind of funny. And so when I went back, I told him how much. He said, "You paid $10? Must be out of your mind." He said, "Talk to him." And so as I would go to other markets and I would come upon a brother or a sister selling something, and I bought pyramids, I bought more pyramids. I would say to the brother, he said 10. I said, "No, $10 too much, man. I can't." I walked away. He said, and then I would walk away. He said, "No, come back, man. Let's talk. And so we started talking. And I said, I have a wife and 2 daughters, and I want to give each one a pyramid. I said, "Oh, you have family?" "Yeah, I have family." "What's their name?" "Oh, I say my wife is Shari and Sasha and Kandike." "Oh, yeah." I say, "You have family?" The point I'm making, I could go on with this. The first reasons for commerce and trade was to communicate with other human beings.
That's it.